recording here. You guys fire away.
Said after a tough loss like that, how long is is there a hangover? Like, how long does it last through Sunday? Like, are you like fully over it now? Like, how long does that last?
Yeah, I'm definitely at a point now where I think I'm over it and the team is over it. But Sunday, you definitely felt it Sunday, in the building, especially coming in and just talking about the game as a team, figuring out what happened and, how we're going to correct our mistakes. So there was definitely some disappointment on Sunday, but we're moved on now. That happened. We're going to fix those mistakes and we're focused on Georgia Tech now.
How did that impact the first practice back? Was there a heightened sense of intensity or just kind of a heightened sense of focus?
Yeah, I think my mentality, today was just kind of telling everybody, let's forget about that. Let's bounce back. We still got, the season ahead of us. All of our goals are still ahead of us. We just lost one game. So really just came in with the mentality, very encouraging, keeping guys from moping around, like I said, from last week's loss, just really picking up the energy and making sure everybody's focused on Georgia Tech.
I just asked Drake that big topic the last few months has been the chemistry, the culture, the leadership, and the standard. Is this a week where all that is tested and maybe surfaces?
Yes, definitely think it's tested. Like you say, how are we going to respond to what happened last week, having our first loss on the season. But not only that, going on the road will be tested, playing a team, Georgia Tech, who's had our numbers the past few years. So our culture will definitely be tested this week on how we play. But we're going to come out there, we're going to show up, we're going to be flying on all cylinders, and we're going to be just fine.
Is this a week where you talk more, the same, or less as far as exercising your leadership role?
Yeah, I think this is a type of week where I just kind of bring light to everybody. I think, the way that I'm talking this week is very, very encouraging, picking everybody up. I think everybody kind of knows what happened. I don't want to beat anybody down anymore. I just want to encourage everybody and lift them up so they can play their best on Saturday.
Cedric, you talk about encouragement and bringing light. For lack of a scientific explanation, did y'all get too pissed during the game the other night? Like, did it get to a point where you sort of, fragmented and didn't get it back together as a group? It seemed like guys were getting hot as it was going on.
Yeah, I think, obviously guys were kind of frustrated during the game. I know I was. There was a point in the game where I kind of lost it a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I don't think anybody was really pointing the fingers or anything. I still felt, throughout the game that we still were fighting and trying to find ways to, figure out how to win and fix the problems and make adjustments and unfortunately, we just didn't come out on the winning side this time. But, obviously guys were frustrated, disappointed, but I don't think it got negative to the point where we were pointing the fingers or arguing or blaming anybody.
Can you take any pure X's and O's lessons from the Georgia Tech game last year, or was their game plan so unique with the multiple quarterbacks in that game that it's really just throwing that in the bin and just scouting this year's team?
Yeah, well, I think every year you have to kind of adjust to a team. No team ever, is the same team as they were before. Even if they have the same schematic deals, they always have nuances of their scheme. So, obviously we're going to take a look at the film last year, see some of the things that they did, see some of the things that they hit on, but also see what they're doing this season as well and seeing what's kind of worked for them and what's been effective. But not only that, another big part of our film study, because a lot of teams do this, they kind of see, okay, this team hit on this, so we have to examine, what teams have, been able to, hit against us, because Georgia Tech is probably seeing that and is probably going to install that in some sort of capacity and try to run it against us.
Yeah, Gene called that the copycat yesterday.
Yep.
They also have a significant upgraded quarterback now than what they had last year. So what kind of things have you seen from Haynes game that presents a challenge?
Yeah, he seems like a pretty good guy, quarterback. One thing that I've noticed that he's pretty athletic. I noticed that he's tend to pull the ball. He's tend to be a runner. He has good speed. But also that I noticed they got a lot of skill positions. And I think he's finding ways to get the ball to his skill positions. They have, talented backfield. You know, they're kind of smaller, quick feet, fast guys, a talented receiving core. So they're definitely a lot better this year, I would say, in the skill category.
Yeah, Armani said that eye discipline will be a challenge because he can run, but he can also throw on the run.
Yeah.
Right? Ball he hit against Miami is rolling to the right. So for you, an inside linebacker, how does that challenge you? What are some of the things that you have to anchor yourself to this week?
Yeah, well, I mean, it just, depends on the scheme, So, whatever play call we're running, if my job is to, kind of contain the quarterback, then I got to make sure I got to contain the quarterback. If I'm in the coverage piece, then I got to make sure that I'm matching my coverage. And everybody on the defense just understands, where they're supposed to be, where their spots is on our play, reacting to them. So if we just do that at all positions, we'll be just fine. But we're definitely going to have somebody account for him as a quarterback because he is an effective thrower and runner.
Said that was the most rushing yards you all as a defense have allowed since Duke of last year. 14 games, the most in 14 games. Why do you think they were able to find success? Like the quarterback run, I know. Like what about it was difficult for you all to stop and get a handle on?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, me personally, I didn't think we had struggle covering their run. I think we had struggle covering the QB draw. The QB, I think, had 70. I think he was their highest rusher, 70-something yards. He had a few explosive plays just running that draw. So I think we did struggle kind of defending the draw last week. That is, something Georgia Tech does with the effective quarterback. So obviously we're going to have a plan for that this week and be a lot more prepared for the QB draw coming this week.
Cedric, considering you haven't won against Georgia Tech in 2 years, what are you going into with this game? How's important for you to win?
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. Like I kind of said earlier, Georgia Tech has had our number for the past 2 years. I said this last week and I'm going to say it again this week. We cannot look at records. That doesn't mean anything. They're talented people on every team. So obviously Georgia Tech having our number, obviously they were kind of the start to the crash of our season last year. It's a lot of built up, maybe anger. So definitely think the guys are ready to attack this week and ready to get after Georgia Tech.
What have been some points of emphasis from Coach Chiz and Coach Thigpen this week, regarding after the loss and going into Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing was just, kind of moving on, understanding what our mistakes were last game, fixing them, correcting them, and just really moving on. Learning about Georgia Tech, learning about their offense and what they're trying to do and what they're being effective and just coming up with a plan to stop them.
Armani's a really experienced guy, played a ton at Virginia Tech, kind of had to wait his time here. Part of it was the injury that he had to overcome. He had 2 huge plays for you guys the other night. How much of a luxury is it that if maybe Taeon's struggling a little bit, you can go to a guy that's played 2,000 snaps in college and he's able to step up the way Armani did?
Yeah, Armani, like you said, stepped up big time for us last game. Had the forced fumble there in the back of the end zone, had the interception, both red zone stopping plays. I think we only had 2 red zone stops and they were credited to him. So he's been playing a really good ball. You mentioned he's played a lot of snaps. I think he's a 5th-year guy, so like you say, he's played a lot of college football and just has that experience and has been in the moment before, been in big games before. And when you have a guy out there who's kind of had that experience, I mean, you kind of expect him to, show up in key moments, and I think he was able to do that.
The collective IQ of the defense this year has been something that we've talked about. Coach Cedric's talked about a little bit as well. How much of that does he bring as well? Because it kind of strikes me as a guy who's pretty smart and kind of understands exactly what's going on out there.
Yeah, he does. Like you said, we just, got a lot of older guys, a lot of experienced people, a lot of people who've seen a thing or two before. So just carrying that experience, understanding what we're doing as a defense and being able to apply that on the field. I think he's done a really good job at that this year. I mean, when Armani has stepped on the field this year, he's been pretty effective and has done his job pretty well. So we'll just continue to grow as a defense. Experienced guys will continue to make plays and, continue to bring guys along.
You mentioned the 4 games to end last year. Is it hard not to think about that, just human nature, this week after what happened on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're, thinking about it in a way like, oh, this is going to happen. I mean, like I said, I think we learned from last year. You know, I don't think we're holding on to it or anything. I think we just learned from it, and we're going to change a few things of how we approach, you know, maybe the week of practice this week, and we're going to attack it and we're going to get after it.
Cedric, have you been feeling the 18 tackles the last couple of days?
Yeah, it definitely was very, very sore on Sunday. It's always a little bit harder after a loss, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, my body's good, I'm healthy, I'm ready to get back after it.
What was
When
the
you
most
went, when you went back, I don't know, Saturday night after the game, and I don't know, you're going to bed or whatever. Like when there was nobody around, like was there ever a moment like, damn, we're not going to go unbeaten now? Like, did you have that moment like this kind of? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I was very, very, very disappointed after the game. I was angry, sad. All the emotions were kind of coming down to me. Every thought kind of went through my head. You know what I'm saying, after the game. But I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, there's a moment where you're like, you know, kind of wanted to go undefeated. You know, that's always the goal. But like I said, you can't get stuck on that too much. We still have all our goals ahead of us. We still can accomplish everything that we set out to accomplish this year. And so, like I said, you know, we call it the 24-hour rule. Whether you win or lose, you dwell on it for 24 hours and then you move on.
You guys good? Thanks, Jack.
Good stuff, Cedric. Thank you, man.